Welcome back to the Form is Temporary podcast, and we are delighted for our Game Week 2 preview to be getting on to brilliant minds of FPL. Firstly, once again, we've got one of our co-hosts rotating in this season, which is always great fun. Jack and Chris couldn't make this one, so he's back from his short hiatus after a nice summer camp. Firstly, Kanji, FPL. It's good to have you back after a couple of episodes. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to come back and to speak with you, Roberto, and it's nice to meet you, Fran, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. He's already spoiled it, but yeah, we were just about to introduce the incredible guest we've got on to help us preview Game Week 2. He had a really good previous episode with us. I remember last, season before last, last final sort of review of the season. And he's come on. I think we've always wanted to get you on more than once, and it's great to get you on again, Fran, to look ahead to Game Week 2 and look back on the opening game week. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me on for the second time. Really do appreciate that. And looking forward to chatting to you both on Game Week 2.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcast this season. And we will go through in this Game Week 2 preview how we got on in the opening game week, our scores on the doors. We've also got the mini league, which we had kick off the head-to-head league. So we'll see how that got on in the opening game week. And of course, we've got our segments such as our differentials and see how Jack Kanji, Kanji's got first pick of the season this week, but Jack and Chris and Marcelo had a go last week. See how they did. We've also got a differential captains, which is new to this season. So one player who we think could be really outside the box. And of course, we will end it on the quiz. We've got a listener question to answer and a quiz, which is going to be FPL themed. I'm going to put that out there now to get Fran and Kanji's cogs turning in respect to that. But yeah, we've got a another round in the quiz. Those that have listened to the podcast for a while will love the hot potato, hopefully, section. So we'll get into that at the end. But first of all, before we get into anything else, we'll look into our Game Week 1 scores. So to kick things off, I think it's only fair if, based on how the game week has gone, we kind of sort through the teams in that order, really. So for that reason, I'm sorry to say that we're going to go for Kanji up first. Kanji, it's you missed the last game week preview, and I hate to say it, but based off the way this game week has gone for you, it looks like it might have maybe made a slight difference. But no, in all seriousness, your team looks solid, and it's intriguing to see. So we're going to go through that. Talk us through it for the audio. Obviously, game week 1 is, of all the game weeks in the season, probably the least important when it comes to how you start, but it's about how you react to that. But 49 points for you, Kanji. Talk us through it for the audio, please.
Sure. So we've got Verbruggen in net, Joachim Anderson, Pedro Porro, Nico Williams in defense. Then I've got Cody Gakpo, Bruno Fernandes, Mo Salah with the captain, Cole Palmer, and then Anderson from Nottingham Forest. And then I've got Strand Larson and Watkins. That's my starting 11. And on the bench, I've got Petrovic from Bournemouth, Senesi from Bournemouth, Dorgu from Manchester United, and then a Mark Guehi, who's like the Sunderland third choice striker, 4.5. So ended up with 49 points. The Salah captain came through. Gakpo was the differential over Florian Wirtz, like most of the field went for, and then Anderson delivering me some points. I was a little bit disappointed because Bruno and Anderson, both my midfielders, ended on 11 DEFCONs, but it is what it is. That's just what it's like. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some more positive variants. I also had a 96-minute clean sheet wipeout from Brighton, but once again, like that's just how the cookie crumbles. But I actually really like my team. I was wondering, did you include the slides that I sent? Did you have the time?
Yeah. So it's really interesting to see, the team you've ended up on, Kanji, from I think we did an episode a few weeks ago, and it's intriguing to see how it's adapted. I mean, you've talked a lot about sort of DEFCON players, although to be fair, Strand Larson was one that you talked up a lot, in pre-season, and you ended up sticking with him from a sort of attacking point of view. Fran, do you think Strand Larson with the fixtures, turning for Wolves in the coming weeks? Do you like the look of him?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit biased because I also own him, but yeah, I think he's one of those picks where if you actually look at the full run, like going up until game week 10, he plays through actually 3 of the promoted teams as well. Like I think most of them at home, so he is for me just a very sensible long-term pick.
Yeah, it's interesting looking at your team. I mean, you've got some sort of options in the side, and you've kind of talked about some potential rotation you might go for, Kanji. This first one being
Yes.
Joachim Andersen.
Yeah, so Joachim Andersen and Marco Senesi, so 2 4.5 options, both averaging around 10 CBITs per 90, which is excellent. And assuming, Dean Huijsen's gone, Bournemouth have like a new defense, I'm assuming Senesi's minutes will be good. I was lucky to avoid the red card in the game week 1 fixture because that should have been a red. But apart from that, I'm very happy with the way that this rotates long term, and it sets me up to potentially bench boost in game week 12 or game week 17. It gives me 2 out options just based on that. And if you go to the next slide, hopefully it would be the next defensive pair.
Yeah, I'm just having a look at that. I mean, just before we get to that next slide, do you think, Fran, that a lot of people have maybe complained about Fulham defense over the past seasons, and they do tend to let one in sort of late on, and in this game week 1 it was actually the other way around, and they scored late on to wipe out those Brighton clean sheet owners. But do you trust Fulham defense? Because personally, I'm not that enthralled by it. I think Anderson was 2 off the DEFCON sort of mark, and Senesi, I mean, Bournemouth look a bit of a mess defensively at the moment, but obviously there's still time for that to change with sort of the window is still open. Do you like Fulham defense, or do you think maybe you would swerve it even with a rotation?
I love Fulham defense. I think so. I'm someone who just unabashedly loves underlying numbers. I think that they've posted some really consistent numbers year on year. Marcus Silva, like even if you go 2 years back, they were a really respectable team. Leno had a pretty bad shot stopping year last year, but over the course of his career, he's been good. Their back line is pretty much unchanged, and I would expect for them to just get more clean sheets on the basis of if you don't almost let the negative variance, I'm sure some people will be upset about that, get in the way. Like Fulham should just be a little bit better this year in terms of performance. As far as Bournemouth, though, I don't actually think they were too bad versus Liverpool. I think like Liverpool were probably expected to get somewhere between like 2.4 XG versus Bournemouth. That's kind of what they got. And they just scored 4 goals from it. But for the most part, I actually think Bournemouth defense looks pretty interesting. I mean, Kanji has actually 2 Bournemouth defenders, right? So we're actually hoping for a lot there. But I don't think that's for a poor reason. Like maybe Petrovic in my mind is still the best 4.5 goalkeeper long term.
Yeah, I do like the look of Petrovic. I mean, he does make a lot of saves. And I'm more interested in this defensive sort of rotation you've got, Kanji. So Dorgu and Richards is one you've looked at. I've got actually Patrick Dorgu in my side as well, which we'll go on to talk about. But Palace's fixtures are interesting. They do rotate well with Manchester United, particularly game weeks 4 and 5 as an example. So yeah, what are you looking at with Chris Richards in particular? Because Lacroix has been someone who's been quite high up on that sort of CBIT sort of scale. Do you think Richards is sort of being a bit overlooked despite the sort of tough fixtures at the start of the season for Palace?
If I had the money, Lacroix would be in without a shadow of a doubt. Like he is honestly one of the best. I think he's one of the most underpriced players. I think next year he'll be 5.5. But I just think Dorgu is the star for me, where I genuinely think this guy is like the left wing back for Manchester United. I expect him to start every single game. He's in the top 95% in terms of shots. His XGI per 90 at 0.21 is very strong. Like if I went for a Lacroix, I'd be in a position where I'd want to start these 3 guys pretty much every single week of Dorgu, Lacroix, and then my premium defender. And then I would have too much value, I think, in my team if I went for Lacroix. So I think by going for Richards, I'm making Dorgu the star. And once again, similar to last time, it puts me in position to potentially bench boost in game week 12 or in game week 17, but I probably have to sell Dorgu in order to do that. But I think it lines up very well. Like if you look, for example, I can play Dorgu in 2-3, and then in 4-5, that's where the Palace defender comes in, and then I'm back on for Dorgu in 6-7. So it kind of just rotates very well long term. And I genuinely think Dorgu is the best 4.5 defender in the game.
Yeah, well, as someone who owns him, I'm going to absolutely thoroughly agree with you there, Kanji. I mean, it's interesting with the goalkeeping situation because down the years, Fran, we often do get burnt by this rotating goalkeepers. But, Kanji's looking at potentially a sort of rotation between Verbruggen and Dorji Petrovic. Do you like the look of the Brighton defence, even though they do sort of sometimes flatter to deceive? I know a lot of people had bench boost with Verbruggen last season, and that didn't go to plan at all. And bench boost this game week for some of them with Verbruggen. But the fixtures aren't great for Brighton for a while. So would you be concerned by that, or are you encouraged by maybe how they're going to look this season?
Well, I think, man, I wish I had Sanchez. Like that's already like a 6 point swing. It's probably going to increase to 15 to 20 points, I think, by the time I get to the end of my horizon. I'll be honest. But I I just have to trust the fact that I want a bench boost in game week 12 or game week 17. And it once again gives me the option to do that with these cheap value enablers. And
Yeah.
it allows me to like not worry about when I'm free hitting, not worry about when I'm wall carding, and I'm in a very good position. I honestly wasn't sure Dubravka was going to start. I didn't have as much information as most of the community going in. Um, but yeah, I think like Petrovic is one of those players that he saved a lot of shots last season. I think he had really strong post shot XG prevented. So I think there's a lot of weight of expectations on Petrovic. Verbruggen, I think he's playing for a defense that I think will improve. Last year, I found that Brighton were at times they committed too many players forward, but I think there's room to improve. Most people expect them to finish mid-table. I expect the same for Bournemouth. I think they've both kept their managers, which is great, unlike other teams in the league, and that's why I think I'm happy to go in for them. But this is the weakest part of the rotation. I prefer the defender rotations. I'm not the biggest ambassador of the JK rotation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, Fran, but I hate goalkeeper rotation. I just think it always leads to chaos, and eventually, you pick the one you think makes the most logical sense. For instance, you might go for game week 10, picking Verbruggen at home to Leeds, and then it'll be Petrovic away to Man City that gets the haul. So, do you think sometimes we should just kind of keep it simple with our keepers and go for like a 5.0 and a 4.0 backup from the same team? Or do you like the look of Verbruggen in this instance?
I actually do like goalkeeper rotation, but I do think, yeah, if you have a 4.0 who's actually a playing goalkeeper, then you kind of just need to take that opportunity. But I don't really have an issue with it, and it does probably make for a better bench boost in most circumstances because the amount of games where Dubravka feasibly is a good play are very slim.
Yeah,
so yeah,
exactly.
I hear that.
Yeah, that's a great point, and a lot of people had Burnley defense for that game week 2 bench boost, but with the likes of Mark Guiu, the likes of Darlow as well, not going to get the minutes that we were hoping maybe in pre-season. It does look a little bit weaker. So going back to your game week 1 side, I mean, the highs from this team, Kanji, I imagine you're very pleased with Cody Gakpo as a Liverpool fan, getting off to a good start as a little differential one there, and you do have Salah as well. Were you tempted by any Bournemouth attackers, or were you kind of confident you go in
Yeah.
for that game with
So
just those two?
yeah, I think Semenyo is one of the best picks in the game. Like, unlike I was talking to I was talking to Fran, he has Sar. And there's another guy in like FPL Broccoli, he has Sar as well. But unlike them, who have to play in two competitions, like Semenyo is just playing 90 minutes in every single game in the Prem, assuming that he avoids injury. So I think for me, I'd rather pay the extra 0.5. However, like Sar's underlyings were better than Semenyo's last year, and he's cheaper. So there is a lot
Yeah,
of value. But to me, it just comes down to X minutes, more injury risk, that sort of thing. But I really like Semenyo. He's one of my favorite players in the league. To me, like top 5 personally. So I have a bias, but I just think this is Gakpo's breakout season. And if Isak doesn't join, I would regret not starting here. So I'm willing to take the punt on him, especially when the minutes are strong in the short term. And if Isak doesn't join, then I've got Gakpo as pretty much a season keeper, in my opinion, as long as he stays fit. Because I don't think there's anyone in Liverpool's team that has the same profile that can come off the left wing and do what Gakpo does. Maybe Ekitike can do that. Maybe they could play Verts in those positions, but I don't think any of them can really realistically do what Gakpo does. So
yeah,
I'm happy that I own him at that price point. And yeah, I think I really lost points to the field in my defense. Like most of the attack is pretty template. And if anything, I've beaten most people because most people have Verts in a Gakpo spot. So
yeah.
yeah, it is what it is. Happy to move on to next week.
Yeah, yeah, it's unlucky as well with the Forest clean sheet wipeout. I mean, I had double Forest defense, which we'll get on to talk about, which is very frustrating when Thiago scored that penalty. But yeah, I think Strand Larsen's encouraging for future weeks, and Anderson from Forest is an interesting one, Fran, because there's a bit of a sort of split in the community, I think, about him. A lot of people liking him for DEFCON, but he also did get an assist for the Chris Wood goal. Do you think going forward he could be sustainable at that price, or do you prefer others around his sort of price point?
I mean, he's more than sustainable. But I think the big thing that people are sort of missing is, and I guess the ironic part is a lot of people thought the double 5.5 was unsustainable, but now it actually looks amazing, right? So that's the thing. Like I hold both Anderson and Reinders really highly. I almost didn't want to mess with either at the start because I was kind of hoping just for a little bit more upside from maybe when I went Jorginho at the start. But undeniably, Anderson's just an easy set and forget pick now.
Yeah, because he is going to be, a bit like, as you say, set and forget, because he's going to play. It's just a question of, is it sustainable, him keeping up those returns potentially? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see for sure, because he did play really well. He's one of the better players for Forest on the day. It's just whether or not he can, as I say, because if we're just relying simply on points from DEFCON, we'll be intrigued to see if he can keep that up. Okay, that's great. Thanks for that. Looking at Kanji's team, we'll look at the next high scoring up next then. So the next after Kanji was Fran. So Fran with 56 points in his team. Sanchez in goal, and Romero, Murillo, Porro at the back three. Salazar, Palmer, Fernandez, and Ruta as a little differential option in the midfield, and then a front two of Ollie Watkins and Strand Larsen. Very interesting indeed. And then bench of Dubravka. Also on the bench there is Stev, which makes sense because of that game week 2 fixture. Mark Guiu is also there, as is for a bit of rotation in that front line. I mean, it's interesting. You've gone with Anderson and you've benched him in game week 1. So 56 points. Are you quite pleased with that, Fran?
Yeah, because I think if you see most of my team, it's probably not a strong game week 1 team. Like Sarr had Chelsea away, Strand Larsen had City at home. Jorginho had a good game, so I needed something from him. And then everyone else who had a good game except for Watkins did well. So I can't. Well, Palmer, let's not even talk about this guy. But like it's reasonable. And I think when I look at across like some of the picks that I probably missed out on, it was really the sort of draft which incorporated like a lot of, let's say, bench boost friendly players, like let's say some Leeds players. I definitely missed out on them. But otherwise, I don't think there were major holes from extremely sort of favorable picks, like high owned picks that I felt like, okay, that was painful to miss out on. Maybe Reinders, but I still had Jorginho in that sense. It wasn't like really hurt by that. All in all, it feels like this team doesn't have a lot of issues. Although, as I said, the ironic part is I've already made a move on it.
Oh, interesting. Well, we'll get to that in our game week preview with our teams. But 56 points is very, very good to start a season, I think, in a game week like this where there's a lot up in the air and we don't know. Because Sanchez 8-pointer was very nice, beating a lot of the goalkeeping options. Double Spurs defense with Porro and Romero. And then, Ruta is a nice little differential alongside Ismail Assar. Ruta picking up an assist there. You've got defensive options with Anderson, Estev. Guiu maybe not so much, but we'll have to see how he gets on with minutes in the coming weeks. But I like the differential parts of that midfield there. And then the final team we had back in game week 1 was the highest scoring of the three of us, I'm pleased to say, and that was my team. It was marginal, but every point counts, especially at this stage of a season. We're gonna take it and we're gonna run with it. So 58 points for me in game week 1. So I ended up going for Matt Sells in goal, who, to be fair, I did have for a lot of preseason, but was kind of flitting between Jose Sarr, a bit of Kelleher at times. But I was pretty confident I would have Sells and stuck with him. He got me 2 points. And then I also had Murillo. I sort of flirted with Milenkovic at times, but just thought because of the defensive contributions that Murillo would be worth picking. So yeah, when Thiago scored, the double Forest defence clean sheet wipeout was very frustrating, but I still think it's a good decision going forward because of those fixtures. Porro at the back as well for 6 points, and then Chalobah got me 6 points. He was a little differential that creeped into my thinking quite late on because I did like the Chelsea defence with those fixtures. I was a little bit concerned about the injuries to Colwill and Tosin, but I did think that Chalobah's fairly nailed for a good time. And he's differential way, a million cheaper than Cucurella. In the end, Cucurella got 3 bonus points, which was a frustrating sight. But yeah, I'm still pretty pleased with him as a nice sort of cheap differential option. The midfield, Salah captain with 16. But at least he got a return. Could have been more, but pretty pleased enough with that in game week 1. Wirtz with 2 was frustrating. Palmer with 3 and Dewsbury Hall with 2. Not a great performance from Everton against Leeds, so he was one of my other differentials that didn't quite deliver. But one that did was Antoine Semenyo, and it was at Fantasy Football Fest. It was great to see everyone of the FPL community there as well. And I'll be honest, I'm so glad I went for a differential in that Liverpool game because when Semenyo scored those 2 goals, I was running around Vauxhall Beer and Gardens, food and beer garden. It was incredible. It was really great fun to start a season and loved it. And Semenyo was absolutely incredible that game. And it's interesting. A lot of people going in early on him this week. Kanji, do you think that's a little bit premature, or do you think that's justified after such a good performance?
Yeah, no, he's one of the best picks in the game. He's just such good value at 7. I wish he was 6.5 because if he was 6.5, he would have been a season keeper for me. But at 7, that's where I was questioning whether the value is there. And because of the transition of the whole defense, I wondered if that was going to impact the chance creation as well as Clivert being out as well. But boy, in these transition games, Semenyo was elite. What's interesting is that people will look to bring him in for Wolves, and even Nielsen will probably be the one that gets the points against Wolves.
Yeah.
But I think Semenyo is so great as a season-long set and forget because in the easy matches he will get his shots, and in the more difficult games he just thrives in transition when there's space to run into. You could see there are so many times people tried to take the ball off him, but it takes 2 or 3 guys because he's so quick and so strong. He's also good in terms of getting CBIT as well as like a sneaky DEFCON player as well. So I really like the pick. I'm glad you went there. And now you have the best run for the long term. You've gotten rid of the worst fixture and he's already giving you the differential haul.
Yeah, and he's given me a little price rise as well, nice and early as well, which is always nice to bank those. I didn't have Reinders, but I'm not feeling too panicked on that just yet. I think it's still very early, and I don't think we need to rush into any moves yet and just sort of reassess how things go in game week 2. But Watkins and Joao Pedro both with 2 as well. Frustrating, especially Joao Pedro, who I was convinced was going to do well. But I don't think we need to panic on him either. I think he's going to come good very soon, I believe. And Ollie Watkins, everyone had him. He was more there as a shield. But I still rate him with the good fixtures for Villa long term. And then on the bench, Dubravka with 2, Guiu with 0, Dorgu, who I was encouraged by in his performance against Arsenal with 1, and then Kiana Hoover, who was my 4.0 of choice, just because I didn't like the fixtures for any other 4.0 long term. Unfortunately, Wolves have signed a right wing back, so a little bit concerned about his minutes, but hopefully it won't ever kind of get to a point where I need to use him. So all in all, 58 points, very pleased with that. Semenyo being the main highlight, of course, him being just the second highest scoring player of the game week after Daniel Ballard's 17 for Sunderland. But yeah, I think Dewsbury Hall was one where I'm willing to be patient with some good fixtures, and I'm pretty pleased with the overall balance of the squad. So those are our teams from game week 1.
Wait, can I ask you one question before we move on?
Yeah.
Are you tempted to upgrade Dewsbury Hall to Reinders or Anderson? Because I do feel like your team is great. The structure is good. You have Chalobah and Dorgu. You're essentially covering Chalobah's worst fixture in game week 7 with Dorgu's best fixture, so it works out very well. And then you can always protect Porro for Man City because you've got Dorgu against Fulham away. Great fixture rotation. The thing is like Dewsbury Hall is where I feel like you're losing points to the field every week. So would you potentially consider longer term downgrading Wirtz or Joao Pedro to upgrade that spot?
I think I probably would give it another week to just see, because having a home game against Brighton, I think, is a great fixture. Brighton, I don't trust at all defensively. And yeah, all right, it wasn't great against Leeds, but it's the first game of the season. I think we can kind of afford to be relaxed in that. And then if we see Dewsbury Hall or Everton look awful again in game week 2, then maybe we can think about shifting Wirtz, because Wirtz does play Arsenal in game week 3 anyway. So that's the sort of fixture I'd be happy for him to go in my team, and sort of assess how he plays against Newcastle, because I think, on the opening night of the season, he might have sort of just let the occasion take over a little bit, and might not necessarily be a reflection of how he'll do going forward. So yeah, pretty happy to be patient with his team, but feel like it's pretty well set up, and if I need to make the occasional tweak here or there, I'm happy to do so. Then looking into the game week 2, before we do, we're just going to look back at the mini league, because of course that started up this game week, and our head-to-head league is always exciting every week. So interesting little start for the TFIT league. I'll just get it up now. But Kanji, I know that you've brought yourself into this league, and to be fair, I was interested to see who the fixtures would serve up in game week 1. So as I just get the league up now, what's your thoughts on this? So first of all, we have my game up against Noni to be upset. Great team name. 72 points from Babukar. He got me an opening day defeat, unfortunately, for myself. But there's some interesting scorelines in here. Some quite high scoring games, but also some pretty low scoring ones. For instance, Abio Dunn's 48-47 win against Abel. And then we go further down the list just to see, some of the different matches. And it's incredible. Some of the talent on show, the likes of Chris with 74 points. Very, very strong week from him.
Holy, what a week.
Beating Shah Misfa by 24 points in the end. So pretty confidently done. And Bodan with 77-30 over Matt Donnelly. Quite the thrashing indeed. But yeah, sort of interesting to see, how these results shake into game week 2. But yeah, Kanji, an unfortunate defeat for you against Velocity Auto, 58-49. Not too close, not too far away.
Yeah, it wasn't close either. It's all good. It's all good. Just cold feet in the beginning. We'll be back. Don't worry.
Yeah. The idea is is to lull them into a full sense of security, isn't it? Lose the first week and then come back stronger after that. And obviously, long way to go. But certainly an interesting start. The likes of Eusebio's team, 46-61 defeat for him. Very unfortunate. And also some other eye-catching results. Andrew, FPL Nightmare, with a 56-33 defeat to start the season. But yeah, definitely will be interested to see how that develops over the coming weeks and months.
I heard Nightmare was considering taking like a -4 or -8 this week. Really interesting to hear his thoughts.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Yeah, well, it was just on with him and Gary and FPL Nick Triggerlips on FPL Have a Beer, and yeah, certainly interesting to see. There's a few changes potentially in the offing for Andrew. But yeah, Jack also lost his game against Steve O'Maynor, so not a great start for the pod, to be honest. Only Chris with a win on opening game week, but we'll have to see.
Chris won the league last year, right?
He did. So to be fair, he is the favourite you'd expect going into this season. But I'm sure there'll be plenty of other challenges and some interesting fixtures going into game week 2, because my dad is up against FPL Nightmare Andrew. So we'll see how he gets on in that fixture. But I'm up against Micah Sharma. We've also got my K-Man fan Matthew facing off against Mad Desi, and also be interesting to see how Chris gets on in the second round, because he's had a good start, but there's a long way to go. So in terms of game week 2's fixtures, let's get them up before we pick our differentials and look how that got on in game week 1 for our guest. Some interesting fixtures in game week 2. I think a lot of people will be looking towards that Manchester City game, but the game week kicks off. It's another Friday deadline, so make sure you don't miss that one with a 6:30 deadline before West Ham against Chelsea on Friday. The 12:30 game, Man City against Tottenham on the 3 o'clock games: Bournemouth, Wolves, Brentford, Villa, Burnley, Sunderland, and then the evening game is Arsenal, Leeds. So it'll be interesting if anyone's got some Arsenal assets for that match. Palace, Forest, Everton, Brighton, and Fulham, Man United are the Sunday offerings, and then you got Newcastle, Liverpool on the Monday night again to end the game week. Just looking at those fixtures there, Fran, what sort of jumps out to you in terms of where we might be if we are thinking of not rolling our transfers, maybe using some of our transfers in game week 2?
I think it's a good chance to maybe look at Crystal Palace defender at this game week. You'd probably want to target Nottingham Forest from that sort of direction. Bournemouth, I think you can look at their attackers like Evan Nilsson and Semenyo. City, I mean, it's hard to almost think about like a reasonable way to get to City unless you're just doing a move like going into Reinders, but that's another great attacking game. Interestingly, markets have City projected goals higher than Arsenal's, so that's an interesting way. Gyökeres as a pick has opened up as well, just due to the Havertz injury, but there's even more interesting market news on Arsenal. Otherwise, I don't think there's anything else that exceptional in terms of fixtures to target. A lot of games where I think you're kind of seeing situations where maybe both teams would score, or you'd expect that, but certainly nothing else to kind of force a transfer over. But
you mentioned Gyökeres, and it's interesting because like when you look at the next like 6 or 7 weeks, game week 2 is the week where like captaincy is very open.
Yep.
And it's like I feel very suboptimal like this week. I'm sure you guys must feel the same, right?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like, especially if you went without Haaland or Saka, that there's a clear captaincy choice in game week 2 for a lot of people. So it makes it, tricky. And we'll get onto this in a second when we give our potential differential captains, if you do want to go outside of the obvious premium players. But very interesting. So that sort of maybe does suggest we might sort of take a relaxed approach to game week 2 if there's not too many fixtures tickling our fancy. But we are going to get into the differentials now. We had Jack, Marcelo, Chris, and myself pick our options last week, and let's just say it wasn't the best. We had 0% starts for Jack and Marcelo and myself, with Caicedo, Collins, Mitoma, Odegaard, Juve, and Szoboszlai all blanking. So not a good start. But Chris's pick of Brennan Johnson did get off to a good start. So 50% success rate so far after his other pick was Fulkrug. But we now will get some differentials from Fran and Kanji. And let's get into that. So Fran, first of all, who is your first player under 10% owned ahead of game week 2's deadline?
Evan Nilsson.
Evan Nilsson.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it? In a Wolves defense that's really struggled last week, and I guess people will sort of put him under the radar because of how little he maybe was involved in that Liverpool game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like it's as I said, probably the best fixture to target from Bournemouth's run. I mean, Kanji's already mentioned this already, so yeah, like why not? Like even going back to the Semenyo point, this is a great time to just buy in. So why not now?
Exactly. In your second pick for game week 2?
Yeah. It's going to be Mateta. I think he's just under 10.
He is.
So,
damn. Against Forest, eh? Wait, aren't they playing against Forest?
Yeah, they are.
And it's away from home for Palace, right?
No, it's at home for Palace.
It's at Palace.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Never rated Forest defense, even though I do own one of their defenders. So yeah, I'll take Mateta here.
Yeah, I mean, Mateta does look good. I mean, if it wasn't for that 1-pointer against Chelsea going into the season, he looked like he was absolutely on flames. But yeah, it was not the best of performances, although they were potentially unlucky to come away from that with just a draw because of that disallowed goal. But yeah, yellow card, not a great start for those Mateta punters. But yeah, still 8.9%, so he's still quietly lowly owned. I like those differentials. Thanks for that. Fran, in terms of yours, Kanji, for game week 2, what's your first one?
You can just pull up Arsenal because I'm going all in on Arsenal. I'm going Odegaard, Declan Rice, and Ben White. Hopefully he actually starts and I don't get Pep Roulette, but I mean the Arteta version.
Mm. I
Um,
see what you're
I just
doing
think.
here. I mean, it is top 2 differential, and you've gone 3, so I'm gonna have to ask
Oh,
for
okay,
you
sorry.
to
Oh no,
pick
no.
2.
If it's two, you can drop Ben White because he might not even start. So yeah,
True.
I'll take Rice and Odegaard, no problem. I'm sure they'll combine for like 8 points.
Odegaard was picked actually by Jack last week, and yeah, I think he was unlucky to not get anything. I mean, you could technically say because he got the defensive contributions, is that a return? It's probably not, but no, for the Leeds game, it is exciting. 3.8% owned, 8 million. He's still on a lot of the sort of set piece duty along with the other player you've picked, right? Declan Rice.
Yeah, I mean Declan Rice, I think, is actually taking the corners. Even the direct free kicks will be him. So I'm honestly more confident in general of like owning Declan Rice than Odegaard, but X minutes is always going to be an issue with Marino just sitting there in the wings. Maybe he could get a 70th minute sub. I mean, let's see how things go. It's a new season. Gotta just give
Yeah.
it like a blank slate and see how it goes.
Exactly. Yeah, those differentials do make sense though. With that fixture, I've got a few sort of unusual differential picks for game week 2. My first one is Harry Wilson, 1% owned. He's playing a Manchester United side, which, although I've got Dorgu, and at the minute I'm starting Dorgu, I don't feel that confident about defensively. And I do think Wilson, he got an assist in game week 1. And he's on a lot of set pieces, and I think his record was a bit better at Craven Cottage last season than in away games. So yeah, I like the look of him. I think the fixtures aren't great for Fulham, but if you do want to punt at 5.5 million, I don't hate Wilson. If Reinders' ownership hadn't gone up so much, I probably would have picked him. But yeah, not under 10% anymore for sure. And then we go to the other player I've picked, which is somebody from Newcastle, which you might think, is that a little bit
Oh
reckless
no.
for a
Oh
Liverpool
no.
fixture? But I honestly do feel like Anthony Gordon could be a nice differential if you want to take a punt, because with the whole Isak situation, 1.9% owned, I do feel like he could play up front in this game. And, a former Everton player as well. I just think if he's on pens against the Liverpool side that were very leaky in game week 1, I don't hate it. And the fixtures after as well, you've not just got him for 1 week, you've got Leeds Wolves following this fixture. So yeah, as a big bold punt for 7.5 million, I don't hate the Anthony Gordon pick. We're now going to get on to one of our differential captains. So if you don't know this, what we do is we do players that are not any more than so there can't be 6 million defenders. They can't be 10 million or more if they're an attacker in midfield or attack. So player under 6 million if they're a defender, and then under 10 million if they're an attacker from a forward or midfield point of view. A player who's not going to be heavily captained and just go against the grain. So last week we had not very good success on the differential captains. Marcelo, his T-Fit pick of the differential captains was his C-bit hero Tarkovsky, which didn't go to plan, him giving away the penalty. We also had Chris's pick of Bowen, which didn't work out.
Oh, unlucky.
And then Jack went for Gakpo, which did go well. And I had Brennan Johnson. So sort of mixed success on that front. But Fran, what were you thinking for a differential captain for game week 2?
Can I get Gyökeres?
Yeah, you can. I mean, it's logical. It's not. To be fair, it is still fairly differential because a lot of people don't necessarily have him. I mean, 24.8% isn't that differential, but because of the fact he's not that premium, you can just about allow. I'll just about allow it.
The rules are the rules, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
You found a loophole, and I like it. No, Gyökeres, yeah, of course. If he's fit, and with Havertz's injury news as well, the expected minutes for him, look a bit stronger. And yeah, I guess the only concern would be is if that early sub comes in like it did against Manchester United. But yeah, as a differential captaincy, I think he is very, very sensible. What about you, Kanji, for your differential
I
captain?
actually had the same pick.
Oh, you got to pick someone else. Sorry,
If I have to pick someone else, I'll take Odegaard happily, no problem.
Okay. You to be fair, I went for Brennan Johnson on my differential captain, and Chris had Johnson as his differential. So I'll allow it that you've picked it on both fronts. To be fair, if you might as well, go all in on that Leeds game.
Bro.
So yeah,
100%.
Ødegaard is your differential captain. My differential captain, just to be a bit sort of different, I'm not going to go for the Arsenal fixture. I think genuinely that we should be looking more at the Chelsea-West Ham game for captaincy. I think that Palace game has put off a lot of people, and understandably so. But I think my differential captain for this week is going to be Joao Pedro. Because a lot of people are doubting him. A lot of people are thinking Delap might come in. But honestly, I think if he does get the start, which I expect him to, the West Ham defence was rubbish against Sunderland. And I think, yeah, Joao Pedro, 7.5 million. He's very differential for captaincy because a lot of people are even considering selling him, which I think is crazy. Way too early for that. So I really like him for this week. And I think if you want to feel really bold, that would be my pick. Okay, those are our differentials. We'll quickly get on to transfer plans. And then we've got a listener question before we got the quiz, because I know that Fran has got to be off soon. So we'll get into our sort of transfer plans. First of all, I'll bring my team up at the moment as things stand. So right now, people, I've got Dubravka in goal, which I don't feel great about. But he's playing Sunderland. So logically, when I had him as a 4.0 rotation, this was the fixture I was earmarking to potentially start him in. And then a back three at the moment is Murillo, Chalobah, and Patrick Dorgu away to Fulham. Murillo against Palace away, and Chalobah against West Ham. Midfield at the moment is Wirtz, Salah captain against Newcastle, Semenyo, Palmer, vice captain, and then Dewsbury Hall against Brighton. And then Watkins and Joao Pedro, and then a bench of Sells, Porro away to Man City, Hoover from Wolves, and Mark Gui. At the moment, I'm thinking the sort of one decision to be made there, Fran, is whether I play Pedro Porro or Murillo, because I do think Dorgu against Fulham could be a nice potential, attacking return or even a clean sheet. Do you think you'd play Porro for the attacking upside or play Murillo for the potential defensive contributions?
Yeah, I'd play Murillo here because there's genuine downside with Porro. Like he's probably actually going to concede 2 goals, right? So even from that as a starting point of view, I'd just be inclined to go Murillo. Palace are a team that definitely will give their opponents DEFCON, so I'd probably take the Murillo floor here.
Yeah, you've been quite down on Dewsbury Hall as a pick, Kanji. So would you consider playing Porro over Dewsbury Hall?
No. Like, even though Porro will be playing in the wing back, they're going to concede at least one. And I don't think his GA will be that high. Also, one thing to mention with Porro is that, we're expecting Eze to potentially join Spurs, but Arsenal might hijack that move after the Havertz injury news that's come out, which would make Porro a better pick because he'd be able to keep his set pieces. But anyways, like regardless, even though he's on set pieces, even though he's playing potentially right wing or right mid, I wouldn't start him.
Yeah.
However, he picked up 17 points in this fixture last year, I think. So
yeah, it was something high. It might have even been 14 points because I remember benching him for that game. So yeah, I hope history doesn't repeat itself. Otherwise, we're in trouble. But Dewsbury Hall, a lot of people are slating him. I just hope this game week things mix up a little bit. There's a bit of variance, and Dewsbury Hall can be this week's Rangers. And I'm sort of nervously sweating on Tajani Reinders because I don't have him, and I don't really feel the need to force him in just yet. Because it just feels a bit too sideways for me right now, this early in the season. But we'll wait and see. I think we're going to be rolling, though, regardless. And I think I'm going to be captaining Mo Salah just because it's a big game. Newcastle will be up for it. But I also think that Villa game, they were pretty poor, Villa. I thought Newcastle deserved to win. So I think Liverpool will be a much bigger test for that Newcastle defence. And yeah, with Chelsea's performance, I'm not sure. It's the early game as well with West Ham. And I know that Salah's was, but difference was I was at Fest, and I don't need to have that excuse this time around to go for the first game. And then looking at your team in terms of how you're lining up, we sort of looked at it earlier with regards to your points, Kanji. But do you have any transfers in mind, or are you just thinking of rolling?
Yeah, I sent you the pick. I don't know if you're able to pull it up right now, but hopefully it loads. So I'll read it out for the audio listeners in the meantime. So Verbruggen's in net, facing Everton away. Dorgu, Senesi, and Nico Williams are going to be in the back line. So Dorgu is playing Fulham away. Senesi is playing Wolves at home. Nico Williams is playing Crystal Palace away. Now, I'll mention that we'll talk with Fran about Nico Williams versus Anderson. In the midfield, it's Gakpo and Salah for Liverpool playing against Newcastle away. Bruno playing against Fulham away. Palmer with the armband currently playing against West Ham away in the early kickoff. Anderson from Nottingham Forest in the midfield playing against Crystal Palace away. And then Strand Larson finally embarking on his good fixture run, his first fixture against Bournemouth away from home. And then Watkins playing against his former team in Brentford away. So I think there's 2 key decisions this week. Well, maybe 3. Verbruggen versus Petrovic, but I just don't want to be going that heavy on Bournemouth. And I honestly thought Everton looked shocking. So I'm happy to play Verbruggen over Petrovic. The second decision is Nico Williams versus Anderson. Fran, what do you think?
I think that's a 50-50, but at the end of the day, you do have no Crystal Palace attackers. So, I mean, if you kind of want to maximize the outcomes in your team and you think it's a 50-50, because they're both playing against teams that in theory should give them some DEFCONs. Like I'm kind of expecting both teams to concede. Like this isn't a great week at all to get clean sheets for anyone. Only Arsenal has sort of a claim to that title. So in a case like this, I'd probably just back the best potential outcome for your team in theory, right? Because you got Bruno playing versus Anderson. So yeah, I kind of like the way you've played it out here.
Yeah, I think
it's also like the EO play, right? Like right, Roberto. It's like the EO thing, right?
Exactly, definitely, and it covers you. It makes you sort of feel a bit more calm about things. The captaincy on Palmer is interesting because I did look at it before the season and thought maybe game week 2 will go there if he has a great performance against Palace. But yeah, we should probably take these game weeks in isolation. Although form does come into it, I'm not sure. But I don't hate the Palmer shout. Okay, and then Fran's team. What are you thinking, Fran, of doing in game week 2? Are you thinking of rolling? Because I imagine most of us are.
No, the knees have been jerked.
Wow,
I've gone Jorginho to Reinders. Part of it is I think I just think I probably made a mistake in my draft anyways. There should have been a 5.5 there. I think there's, to me, like enough confidence in Reinders' short-term minutes for me to make that move, and then the 0.5 will just improve my team. In
Did you
whatever
say confidence
position.
for a Man City player?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would bet on it. So, and that's what I've done. I think the thing that people always mistake with Pep's teams, it's like, to be honest, it's actually hard to get his rotation wrong unless you just don't try to follow what he's doing with his teams. Most of the time, he will surprise with some tactical shifts, and you won't know when that will happen. But up until that moment in time, like if you follow, I guess, people who explain City well, understand what Pep tries to do, people who think about matchups and stuff, like for example, like Luke, who shares probably the best City insight, like maybe even in the world, honestly. He's that underrated. This is a man who's probably gotten more Pep predictions right than anyone else who doesn't have inside information. And I think, yeah, there's enough to say that Pep has confidence in something like Reinders right now. He also does something that, unfortunately, some of the midfielders in that team just can't do, which is just run across the pitch and not look like a fool doing so in transition. So, I'm pretty confident Reinders. I actually still like Jorginho as a pick. It's just a case where when I actually look at the rest of my team, I don't think there are teething issues. Like all the picks that I have here, I'd happily own for the next 7 to 8 game weeks. So, Watkins, for example, I own until 8. Sarr, I own perpetually. Salah, Palmer, Bruno. These are players that I'm generally always going to be confident about. I'm not going to be moving them away. It's only really in defense, actually, that I'd consider making moves in my team. So, for example, that Esteve spot could be a 4.5. You guys mentioned Dory was the best 4.5. That's potentially the case. So that could be an angle, or even like that Romero spot, right? Whether I move towards someone like Munoz at 5.5, who's clearly, I think, going to be a very interesting differential over the next few weeks. So I kind of almost wanted to spit 0.5 back into this team and then allow myself the flexibility to make moves on that whilst also chasing some price rises.
Yeah, as mad as it may sound, are you at all tempted, Fran, to switch Dubravka for Sanchez and go double Burnley defense?
Yeah, I thought about it, but I'm not going to do that to myself. So I'm just going to play Sanchez and Esteve.
Yeah. Hedging the bets, it does make sense. I've seen a lot of people, though, with bench boost being played in game week 2 and going on Esteve and Dubravka. And, we can't take too much from the first week. But, I think it's very different, people saying that Burnley have kept all those clean sheets last season. And you look at some of Sunderland's signings and you think, that those signings were Premier League quality. This last championship season, if they'd have had those players, in their championship matchups, maybe that would be a different story with their clean sheet record. So I'm not so sure it will be necessarily tight. It might be a game because both teams know they need to win it, where they both go for it. And if they sort of take a cautious approach in that match, then neither side will win from it for the outcome, because they both need to really win that. So yeah, really interesting. But yeah, we've got 2 Salah captainers and 1 Palmer captainer so far. And yeah, I just got to hope that from my point of view that Reinders blanks, because he's the talk of the town and I'm not liking it at the moment. But we'll have to see how that develops. And I like Sarr. I do like Sarr as a pick. But you've got Murillo there. You've got Porro, who could switch in for Anderson. But yeah, definitely a nice setup.
Does the transfer change your chip strategy? Like, I'm assuming going into the season you were expecting free hit 6, but now that you brought in another Man City player, like that actually covers you up from EV you could gain from free hit 6, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'm actually kind of looking at free hit 4 right now, or maybe 11. But
wow,
keeping it open.
I'll be right honest. My chip strategy is completely non-existent at this point, which it probably shouldn't be, because we've actually got double chips, so we have to think about it a bit more. But yeah, I'm just letting it sort of go as it comes, and if I get to a point where I feel like I need to use the chip, then I will, because I don't think a lot of the time planning last season just went out the window, and I do feel like we have to be reactive this season. So I might just see how I go, but I have earmarked game week 6 potentially, because I don't know if I'll own Haaland before then. If he scores another hat trick in game week 2, then maybe I'll have second thoughts.
He won't. I'll tell you in advance. I don't even think he scores in this game. I think City will score, but I think it'll be a pullback to a midfielder that scores. And if Haaland scores, he just scores 1. I'm telling you in advance. But I wanted to mention, it's like, people are going to be thinking about free hit 6 to get Haaland in, but it's also the Brentford fixture in 7 for Haaland, because Brentford is overrated in the models. Like, they're just pulling Brentford's data from last year. But when you factor in the new coach and the new system and new players and everything, like, they're one of the bottom 5 or 6 teams in the league. So you're taking a bottom 6 team in game week 7 for Haaland, also a newly promoted side in game week 6 for Haaland. And it's like, why don't we just sell Salah to bring Haaland in, captain him twice, and then maybe switch back? I don't know. I'm cold on free hit 6 now. But not because of what Fran has done. It's just, this is the only thing that I think I've learned from game week 1.
Yeah, no, that's I absolutely get that thinking, Kanji. It does make a lot of sense. We got a listener question which we're going to get into before we wrap up with the quiz. This one came from Marcus Gooners _FPL. So I'll see what Fran thinks and Kanji thinks about this one. So 57 points for him, sandwiched tidily in between myself and Fran in game week 1. He has the dilemma of which goalkeeper and third defender to start for game week 2. So he's basically thinking which of Sanchez / Dubravka and Anderson / Pedro Porro / Esteve would you play for game week 2? So it's basically picking 2 players to start out of Sanchez and Dubravka versus Anderson, Porro, Esteve. His team, which I'll just get up in a second, he's got Dubravka in goal at the moment, back 3 of Munoz, Williams and Anderson. Reinders, Rogers, Bruno, Salah, Palmer, Watkins, Strand, Larson. So quite a few similarities with your side, Fran. And then on the bench, it's Sanchez, Porro, Esteve, and Guiu. Initial thoughts about that, Kanji? Do you like the look of starting Dubravka over Sanchez? I mean, that's what Fran's doing at the moment.
I think Fran's probably better poised to answer this, but I'd suggest start Sanchez and go Esteve. But what do you think, Fran?
Yeah, I mean, I started Sanchez. I think the clean sheet odds moved a lot after West Ham's terrible performance for Sunderland, especially on the offensive end. To be honest, I think that's the underrated takeaway from that game. West Ham offense was awful. So I think Sanchez theoretically is just better, but if you actually have the balls to go double Burnley defense, that's the best play theoretically, right? You're either guaranteeing yourself depression or a fantastic weekend. So
yeah.
If you want to do that, I think that's the best play. It's kind of like when we talk about free hits and we think, you should maybe stack defenders so the outcome's kind of aligned. But it's always hard, I think, for us to do that, right? Sanchez, for example, might just carry a bit more EO, things like that. And so, yeah, I think the only thing I'd probably not want to do is play Porro. I think Anderson and the other pick's actually really close. So,
yeah, I mean, Williams, I would definitely start, I think, just because of his DEFCON, routes to points, and I quite like the fixture, and because he's already got Munoz, you'd think one of those defenses gets a clean sheet, or you'd at least hope it. And then he's already got Dubravka, so I don't necessarily think it's essential for him to then also play Esteve if he likes the look of Anderson. Although maybe I'd play Porro over Anderson, and I'd probably pick that over Esteve. So you could potentially play your three most attacking and just go Munoz, Williams, and Porro. I don't hate that either. But then if you think that Fulham game is going to be low scoring, then you can go Anderson. If it was me, Marcus, I think I'd go Dubravka, Porro, in my opinion. But I also do echo what Fran is saying about Porro, and maybe it's more benchable than a Burnley defender that's got a good fixture against Sunderland at home. And certainly that.
Wow, 3 people with 3 different answers.
I know that's definitely going to scramble Marcus's brain a bit, but yeah, definitely, yeah. Let's hear those arguments, Marcus, and whichever one you agree with the logic most with, hopefully that will help you come to your decision. We're going to end off with the quiz as we always love to. So for this one, I've got a couple of questions related to FPL, and then I've also got another one which is sort of more general. So we'll start off by quizzing Fran and Kanji on everything they know so far about the FPL season. So I hope you were paying attention in game week 1. The first question I've got for you is, in terms of forwards, at the moment there is forwards ranging from 14 million to 4.5 million. So from the 4.5 forwards, I want you to tell me which of them has scored. Actually, before we go into the question, some buzzers. So, Kanji, what's your buzzer tonight?
Hello.
Hello is your buzzer. And Fran?
Goodbye.
Hello and goodbye. I love it. I love it. Brilliant, Fran. Okay. Which 4.5 forward is the highest scoring after game week 1?
Hello. Is it Krupi Jr.?
It certainly is. Yep. I can tell you that Krupi Jr. is actually the only one that got any minutes in game week 1. Quite a short list, but the likes of Mark Guiu didn't make it off the bench. Neither did Ashley Barnes or Michael Obafemi for Burnley. So we wait to go see what happens with those other 4.5 players. But with regards, and do you know how many minutes Krupa Jr. played? Just the one. So he only just squeezed in. Wow. So that is 1-0 to Kanji in the opening question.
The only reason I know that is that one of my friends is considering bench boost just because he thinks Krupa Jr. will get a minute. And I'm like, bro, are you serious? Come on.
I respect that.
Fair play. Okay, next question. In terms of the players that scored the points in game week 1 in midfield, there were 4 midfielders that went into double digits for points in midfield. I'm going to give you 2 of them, and I need you guys to fill in the blanks. So Antoine Semenyo is one of them, and buzz in when I give this other one so you can fill in the other 2 blanks, and the other one is Reinders. Any ideas of the other 2? Buzz in when you think you know. I think you were hoping I didn't say Reinders there.
I'm sure Fran knows. He just has to think about it.
Any ideas, Kanji or Fran?
I've got one, but yeah.
Okay,
same.
Fran, go for it.
The one is obvious.
I think Mo Kudus.
Mohamed Kudus, yes.
Yeah.
Just one more to go, though. And if you get this wrong, Fran, this next guess, then it passes over to Kanji, and he gets a shot at it.
I don't even know who scored that many goals. I can't even think about it.
Is there a hint?
I could give a hint, and
do you want to take a hint,
considering it.
Yeah, it's calm. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna allow a hint. This player scored at home against Manchester City last season.
Wait,
that's my hint.
That's crazy.
Not many players score against Man City at home.
That's crazy.
That doesn't even make sense. That's not it.
That doesn't even help me, bro.
No. All right. Okay.
Okay, right. That wasn't a hint. That was a hit. I should have
That's
added an end to
crazy.
that one. Okay, I'm gonna go easier then. This player had scored a penalty.
Goodbye, O'Reilly.
Yes, Fran is
Damn.
correct.
That's
That was straight
cold.
in. He was straight in. To be fair to him, he was straight in with that one. So 1-1 overall. The other player that was very close to getting the double digits was Enjoy of Nottingham Forest. Recent buy from Nottingham Forest. And quite incredible that Anton Stack also got 8 points, despite only getting an assist. But that was down to his 13 on the defensive contributions, as well as a midfielder clean sheet. So we move on to question 3. And this one is all about defenders. You might be guessing the trend here. We've gone through the different positions. Now, there aren't many good, cheap defenders, especially in the 4.0 bracket. But there are quite a few when it comes to the 6.0 defenders. What I want to know is which of the 6.0 defenders scored the most points in game week 1. There's 2 answers for this.
Goodbye,
Can you name them?
Well,
Fran has got Ait Nouri, but has he got the other one?
Saliba?
Correct. He's got it. It's cleaned up. Very well
Yeah,
done.
because Gabriel got
thought he got
yellow cards. Saliba got triple. He got DEFCON plus 3 points.
Oh, damn. That's
Very well
crazy.
done. Very well done, Fran. 2-1 to Fran. Yeah, it was a close one because we had Kukurea on 8, just missing out. But yes, Saliba and Ait Nouri is correct. So we go into the final question, and it's 2-1. So you have to get this to draw this week, Kanji.
Wait. Before you go, wait. So Saliba got the clean sheet. He got 6. Plus 2 for DEFCON. Plus 3 for bonus.
So Saliba in the end ended up getting,
or at least 1 for bonus.
I think he got plus 2.
Yeah, whatever he got. But like, that's a lot.
He had 10.
Maybe Saliba.
Well, because we never expect him to get DEFCON, right?
Yeah.
So him getting it is impressive.
So Saliba had 1
shocked.
bonus point. He had 1 bonus point, Saliba, and he got 10 on the defensive contributions.
Yeah, I'm not questioning if the question's right. I'm more so just surprised he got that many points.
You were like, Saliba? Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Final question then. And this is our favorite game, which is Hot Potato. Now, the theme of this one is related to topical news. So I hope you've been keeping up to date. At the moment, there is a lot of heat on Russell Martin at Rangers. The former Southampton manager at Rangers, not doing too well. And there's a lot of heat on him at the moment. So with that in mind, I want to know, can you name, one by one, we'll do it like a tennis match, former Premier League managers who have managed in the Scottish League? So buzz in when you think you can have a go at the first answer of a manager who's been in the Premier League and the Scottish League.
Goodbye, Brendan Rodgers.
Brendan Rodgers. Fran has kicked us off. Brendan Rodgers. No, one at a time, Fran. One at a time.
Honestly, those are the only 2. Those are the only 2 I think I know, to be honest.
Okay.
Is there like Koeman or something?
What was
like
that?
Ronald Koeman or something? I don't know. I have no idea. Could be so wrong.
Ronald Koeman, I'm afraid, is an incorrect answer.
Yeah, it makes sense. You took the best 2, though, to be fair. My ball knowledge isn't that deep.
I've got one more. But
Go on.
Who do you have?
Showboat.
Gerrard, right? Gerrard.
Yeah, Steven Gerrard.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
All right. That's about it for me.
Is that about it?
You're him, bro. You're him.
Yeah.
Well, the other answers you could have had, I can't believe one of them ones you missed. The most famous manager, Scottish manager,
of course.
Premier League history.
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also have Walter Smith. Some of those people listening might know that one. Alex McLeish, Gordon Strachan. We also have Steve Clark, Steven Gerrard, as said by Fran, Paul Lambert, who of course managed Aston Villa, Kenny Dalglish, Kanji. You missed out the
wow,
big Kenny.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Graham Souness as well, Martin O'Neill, and Jim Jeffries were your other potential answers there. So it's a win for Fran in the quiz, 3-1 this week. comprehensive stuff in the end. But Fran, congratulations on winning the quiz.
No, I appreciate that. I'm sorry I don't have a great Scottish ball knowledge, but thank you.
Well,
Anyways.
maybe
That's
that's
what I'm supposed to say. Bro, I'm supposed to say this, bro. You're good.
now he's just like flexing. He's trying to make out he wishes he did done better, even though he's won. He's trying to make Kanji feel worse, but no, I'm just
No,
joking.
he's just trying to
of
stay
course.
humble. It's calm.
Yeah,
it's
he's
calm.
staying humble. He's doing that Erling Haaland to Arteta. He's staying humble. But no, great fun. Thanks again for coming on, Fran. It's been a pleasure having you as always. And Kanji, I hope you've enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, I loved it. It's a pleasure to speak with you, Roberto, Fran. Really appreciate getting to know you a little bit better.
Absolutely. And don't forget as well, there is still time. We don't know when we will, but we will at some point be closing off any more entrants into the head-to-head league for the Form Is Temporary podcast. So if you still want to join, you can still do that, I believe. The code for that, for you to join, I'm pretty sure is WE1RLM. So if you still want to get in that league, I think you can still join. But that is the Game Week 2 preview covered off. I'm going to be captaining Salah. Fran, I think, is going to be captaining Salah. Kanji might do something different, but we'll have to wait and see.
We'll see.
We'll come back to it.
I might go Palmer by the deadline. Just saying.
Or maybe
Ooh,
you might be getting cold feet. This is
Come-
the things you stay for at the end of the episode.
Come to the dark side.
Great stuff. Thanks again for coming on, and we've got some exciting episodes coming up on the T-Fit. It has to be said. Game week 3, we've got the legendary FPL mate coming on. So Dan is going to be here to preview game week 3. Until then, hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, everybody.